Many applied math problems involve solving a polynomial equation using factoring. For example, finding the dimensions of a rectangle. However, with this one specifically, when solved, one of the answers is not possible. How can that be? How can one of the answers not actually be possible? We're going to find out. So, the length of a rectangle is 8 centimeters less than its width. What are the dimensions of the rectangle if its area is 128 square centimeters? So when it comes to stuff like this, kind of hard to visualize it just by reading it. So best to draw a picture. You don't have to be really good at drawing pictures, just something as a guide. So we have a rectangle, has some length, has some width, and we know that its area is 128 square centimeters. So we can say the area is equal to 128. I'm not going to use the units of measure, I just need to know what the area is. We'll deal with that later. So let's go with what the width and the length are. It says that the length of the rectangle is 8 centimeters less than its width. So whatever the width is, the length is just 8 centimeters less than that. So we can say that the width is some length, x, and the length is the same as the width, but minus 8, because it's 8 less. So we know this, but how can we find the dimensions? Well, we know what the area is, and the area of a rectangle is base times height. Or, if you don't like base times height, and specifically what we're using, we can say it's length times width. So we can plug in what we know. A for area is 128, and the length is x minus 8, and the width is just x. Well, let's distribute the x in. 128 equals x squared minus 8x. And now it's looking a lot like a quadratic. And what we can do is we can move all the terms to one side and set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 128 over and get x squared minus 8x minus 128 equals 0. So, need to factor this. So, what times what would give me negative 128? Add to give me negative 8. In this case, it's going to be negative 16 and positive 8. So when I factor it, factor form is going to look like this. X minus 16, x plus 8. Set each one individually equal to 0. And I'm going to get x equals 16 and x equals negative 8. So here are my two answers. But like I said before, one of them is not going to work. Which one? Well, we need to know what the dimensions are, so let's find out. I know that when x equals 16, the length is going to be 16 minus 8, which will be 8 centimeters, because our units of measure are centimeters. And my width is just x, so it's just 16 centimeters. Which makes sense, nothing wrong with that. But what happens when we use negative 8? So let's find out. When x equals negative 8, my length is x minus 8, so it's going to be negative 8 minus 8, which is going to give me negative 16 centimeters. And right here, that's a problem. You cannot have a negative distance. Distance is always measured positively. So, because I get a negative length, which is impossible, I can say that x equaling 8 is not possible, so I can get rid of that. So my only true solution here is x equals 16, which gives me the dimensions that I'm looking for of 8 centimeters for the length and 16 centimeters for the width.